welcome back to my channel. I'm Camilla and I am a little bit red. I've been doing some work in the garden because summer is finally kicked in Scotland, like all 5 days of it. So I've been pleased. Look at my shoulders, they are out in the world. Incredible. Anyway, I'm excited today because they've just announced the Booker Longlist for 2024, and well, not just, it's later in the day. Obviously I finished working and then I worked in the garden, but I've been thinking about this for a few hours and excited to film this video and this reaction to the long list. So let's check it out together and see what I might want to read. I know for the, sorry, I've got a bit warm. I know in the Read Good challenge from Ben Read Good that August, the challenge or the prompt is to read a Booker listed book, and I decided to kind of wait for the long list to see what would come up, and I'm excited to see. So let's take a look. So I didn't do any predictions. One, I'm not super invested. Obviously I don't not that I don't care as much. No, that's true. I don't care as much as the Women's Prize. There's also so many more books, obviously, that could be longlisted. And yeah, it's been nice to see some of the other videos and some people like starting to predict like what might go on this list, what might not. So yeah, all right. Let's see. All right, 3 debut novel and 6 previously nominated writers. Okay. Where's the list? Okay, there's just a list here. Wandering Stars, Wild Houses, Held, Creation Lake, The Strange Eventful History, Playground, Enlightenment, Orbital, James, The Safekeep, My Friends, Stoneyard Devotional, and Headshot. Okay, of the names, that doesn't include authors. I think there's 2 that I know. I told you I'm not as good with this one. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here. Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. Okay, so Tommy Orange came on my radar after the New York Times terrible list of 100 best books of the millennium. Anyway, let's not discuss that here. And I was really intrigued by this, so I actually had added him to my TBR. And so that's exciting to see here. Wandering Stars, a tender, shattering story of generations of a Native American family struggling to find ways through displacement, addiction, and pain towards home and hope. Well, I'm definitely adding this one onto my to-read list. Exciting. All right, a good start. Second is Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. Okay. Let's see. That's an Irish author. A story of 2 outsiders striving to find themselves as their world collapses in chaos and violence. As Ballina prepares for its biggest weekend of the year, the simmering feud between small-time dealer Killian English and County Mayo's fraternal enforcers Gabe and Sketch Ferdia spills over into violence and an ugly ultimatum. That doesn't sound up my alley. But, maybe all 3 Irish books for the Women's Prize weren't high on my excited list when I saw the long list, and 2 of them ended up in like my top 6. So clearly I'm not a good judge of that, but you just never know. But it's not gonna be high on my, it's not gonna be on my to-read list. Next, Held by Anne Michaels. Okay, oh, a Canadian author. In a narrative that spans 4 generations, there's like a theme here. Moments of connection and consequence ignite and reignite as the century unfolds. 1917, on a battlefield near the river Escaut, John lies in the aftermath of a blast, unable to move or feel his legs. Struggling to focus his thought, he is lost to memory. A chance encounter in a pub by a railway, a hot bath with his lover on a winter night, his childhood on a faraway coast as the snow falls. 1920, John has returned from war to North Yorkshire, near another river, alive but not yet still whole. Reunited with Elena, an artist, he reopens his photography business and endeavors to keep on living. But the past erupts insistently into the present as ghosts begin to surface in his pictures. Pictures is underlined, which is weird, but anyway. Ghosts whose messages he cannot understand. So I don't know if this is going to be like, you know, the Elif Shafak novel, is it like, what, 10 minutes, 38 seconds, something like that, in a strange world, something like that, where on the battlefield he has memories and it's like going between consciousness and memory. And obviously 1920 we get like the aftermath of it or something. And I don't know if it sounds like it might have some magical realism, or if like the ghosts are actually just memories and like stuff, baggage, you know. I would be into the magical realism thing. It sounds interesting. Again, I don't know if it would be high on my to read list. Next, Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner. Okay, I feel like I've heard this name. A woman is caught in the crossfire between the past and the future in this part spy novel, part profound treatise on human history. Sadie Smith, a 34-year-old American undercover agent of ruthless tactics, bold opinions, and clean beauty, is sent by her mysterious but powerful employers to a remote corner of France. Her mission to infiltrate a commune of radical eco-activists led by charismatic Svengali Bruno Lacombe. Sadie casts her cynical eye over this region of ancient farms and sleepy villages, but at first finds Bruno's idealism laughable. He lives in a Neanderthal cave and he believes the path to enlightenment is to return to primitivism. But just as Sadie is certain she's the seductress and puppet master of those she surveils, Bruno Lacombe is seducing her with his ingenious counter-histories, his artful laments, his own tragic story. That sounds interesting. It's giving me a vibe of like Study for Obedience and the Stale Bread story. I forget what the name of that was. But yeah, it's giving me those vibes a little bit. Alright, next. The Strange Eventful History by Claire Missoud. The Strange Eventful History charts the Cassars' unfolding story in a work of breathtaking historical sweep and vivid psychological intimacy. June 1940. There's a lot of historical fiction, I'm surprised. As Paris falls to the Germans, Gaston Cassard, honorable servant of France, devoted husband and father, currently posted as naval attaché in Salonika, bids farewell to his beloved wife, aunt, and children, placing his faith in God that they will be reunited after the war. I mean, I feel like I can just stop reading there. I'm really not interested by this. Sorry. Alright, next we have Playground by Richard Powers. Okay, I've heard the name again. Playground explores that last wild place we have yet not colonized and interweaves profound themes of technology and the environment in a deep exploration of our shared humanity. Okay. Rafi and Todd are two polar opposites at an elite high school where they bond over a 3,000-year-old board game. Elsewhere, Evie Beaulieu sinks to the bottom of a swimming pool in Montreal. There's a lot of Frenchness to this. Okay. Ina Arroita grows up in naval bases across the Pacific with art as her only home. All of these people meet on the history-scarred island of Makatea in French Polynesia, marked for humanity's next great adventure, a plan to send floating autonomous cities out into the open sea. As the seasteaders close in, how will Evie play the ever-unfolding oceanic game? Will Ina engage in acts of destruction? Todd and Rafi, now estranged, find themselves in competition. This is giving me an Ascension vibes a little bit, you know, like a little sort of like a near future and like colonization of like some natural thing. And yeah, I mean, interesting. Like if I had access to it, I think I would read it, but I won't be going out of my way, you know what I mean? Okay, next, Enlightenment by Sarah Perry. Wait, is that the Sarah Perry? Oh my gosh, she's the one who wrote Melmoth and the Essex Serpent. Okay, interesting. Okay. So, a story of love and astronomy told over the course of 20 years through the lives of two improbable best friends. Thomas Hart and Grace McCauley have lived all their lives in a small Essex town. You know, when you know a region, why stray away? she's, you know, she knows where to set her novels. Though separated in age by 3 decades, the pair are kindred spirits, torn between their commitment to religion and their desire to explore the world beyond their small Baptist community. But their friendship is threatened by the arrival of love. Thomas falls for James Bower, who runs a local museum. Together they develop an obsession with the vanished 19th century astronomer Maria Vaduva, said to haunt a nearby manor. Weird. Meanwhile, Grace meets Nathan, a fellow sixth former who represents a different, wilder kind of life. They are drawn passionately together, but quickly pulled apart, casting Grace into the wider world and far away from Thomas. Over the course of 20 years, by coincidence in design, Thomas and Grace will find their lives brought back into orbit. I mean, this is interesting. I do love a friendship between people from like vastly different generation. That always gets me. Yeah, interesting one. Yeah, I'll be keen to see if I, you know, get access to that with my library and stuff like that. British books, I'm more likely to get them, so yeah. Then we have Orbital by Samantha Harvey, who's also from the UK. 6 astronauts rotate in the International Space Station. They are there to do vital work, but slowly they begin to wonder, what is life without Earth? What is Earth without humanity? Big questions. Together they watch their silent blue planet circling in it 16 times, spinning past continents and cycling through seasons. Yet, although separated from the world, they cannot escape its constant pull. News reaches them of the death of a mother, and with it comes thoughts of returning home. They look on as a typhoon gathers over the island, and people they love in awe of its magnificence and fearful of its destruction. The fragility of human life fills their conversation, their fears, their dreams. So far from Earth, they have never felt more part or protective of it. Ooh, this sounds really good. This sounds right up my alley, actually. Interesting. Next we have James by Percival Everett. That's the one name that I definitely knew. Percival Everett was longlisted, I want to say in 2022 for The Trees. And I love that book. I thought, oh my god, his writing, like, it really stood out for me, and it was funny and touching, and like it made me think, and it made me want to read more by him, even though I haven't been able to get my hands on any of it yet. This one hadn't appealed to me as much because I don't care that much about the adventure of Huckleberry Finn, but this is longlisted here. I know a lot of people have been talking about whether it would be longlisted or not, but yeah, I might give it a chance. I mean, I loved his writing so much last time. So yes, as I've mentioned, this is a reimagining of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and it's basically following James, Jim, you know, the counterpart to Huckleberry Finn. So 1861, the Mississippi River, when the enslaved Jim overhears that he is about to be sold to a new owner in New Orleans and separated from his wife and daughter forever, he decides to hide on nearby Jackson Island until he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck Finn has faked his own death to escape his violent father, who recently returned to town. Thus begins a dangerous and transcendent journey by raft along the Mississippi River, towards the elusive promise of free states and beyond. Yeah, I should really give it a try, actually. I think that will be really good. And I've just finished a couple weeks ago All That She Carried, The Journey of Ashley Sack, A Black Family Keepsake by Tia Miles. And I don't know, I feel like I learned a lot about, not about slavery, but how people lived while enslaved in the American South and stuff. So yeah, I feel like this will probably give me a different context for reading this book as well. So yeah, quite excited. Alright, next we have The Safe Keep by Yael van der Wooden. Exhilarating tale of twisted desire, histories and homes, and the legacy of one of the 20th century's greatest tragedies. It just gave me thunderclap, like, vibes. Anyway, it's 15 years since the Second World War, and the rural Dutch province of Overijssel, sorry to all Dutch people, is quiet. Bomb craters have been filled, buildings reconstructed, and the conflict is well and truly over. Living alone in her late mother's country home, Isabel's life is as it should be, led by routine and discipline. But all is upended when her brother Louis delivers his graceless new girlfriend Eva at Isabel's doorstep as a guest, then to stay for the season. Eva is Isabel's antithesis. She sleeps late, wakes late, walks loudly through the house, and touches things she shouldn't. In response, Isabel's develop a fury-fueled obsession. And when things start to disappear on the house, her suspicion spirals out of control. In the sweltering heat of summer, Isabel's desperate desire for order transforms into infatuation, leading to a discovery that unravels all she has ever known. The war might not be well and truly over after all, and neither Eva nor the house are what they seem. I really don't know what to think about this one. Interesting. Again, I don't know that that's one I would rush to read. Alright. Then we have the other book that I'd seen and heard of, My Friends by Ishmael Matar. So it is following Khaled and Mustafa, who meet at the University in Edinburgh. Two Libyan 18-year-olds expecting to return home after their studies. In a moment of recklessness and courage, they travel to London to join a demonstration in front of the Libyan embassy. When government officials open fire on protesters in broad daylight, both friends are wounded and their lives forever changed. Oh, has this happened for real? Sorry, I don't actually know. Over the years that follow, Khaled and Mustafa and their friends Hossam, a writer, are bound together by their shared history. If friendship is a space to inhabit, theirs becomes small and inhospitable when a revolution in Libya forces them to choose between the lives they have created in London and the lives they left behind. Obviously, political exile is actually something I'm very interested in. I like to reading and yeah. So this is really interesting to me. I've heard some good things as well, like people reviewing this book. So yeah, would be on my list, definitely. Yeah, good. All right, this is an interesting list. Next, we have Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood, who is Australian, potentially. The past comes knocking in Charlotte Wood's fearless exploration of forgiveness, grief, and friendship. I'm sold already. I'm sold. Burnt out and in need of retreat, a middle-aged woman leaves Sydney to return to the place she grew up, taking refuge in a small religious community. You know, there's been a lot of religious themes and communities in these different books. Interesting theme. She doesn't believe in God or know what prayer is and finds herself living a strange reclusive existence almost by accident. But this quiet interrupts this secluded life with 3 visitations. First comes a terrible mouse plague, each day signaling a new battle against the rising infestation. That would give me anxiety. I live in the field now, basically. Yeah. Second is a return of the skeletal remains of a sister who disappeared decades before, presumed murdered. And finally, a troubling visitor plunges the narrator further back into her past. ... Indeed. It's definitely tickled my curiosity. An interesting one. I would definitely wait to see what people will say about it. And then the last one we have here is Headshot by Rita Bullwinkle. Funny, propulsive, obsessive, and ecstatic. Headshot is equal parts subtle and intense as it brings us to the sideline of the boxing ring and above and beyond it. Headshot is a story of 8 best friend girl boxers in the United States, told over the 2 days of a championship tournament in Nevada, and structured as a series of face-offs. Interesting premise. As the girls' past and future collide, the specific joy and violence of the sport comes to life with electric energy, and a portrait emerges of the desire, envy, perfectionism, madness, and sheer physical pleasure that motivates each of these young women to fight. This is a novel about the radicalness and strangeness of being physically intimate with another human when you are measuring your own body through competition against theirs. What does that intimacy of a physical competition feel like? What does it mean to walk through life in the bodies we've been given? And what does it mean to use those bodies with abandon? Well, that sounds amazing. That sounds really good. It's giving me a little bit of Western Lane. So I'm already predicting that there's going to be too much boxing for my liking. But also embodiment and like all of those themes are really interesting to me. And that's something I'm actually studying for my PhD. So this sounds like right up my alley. And yeah, okay. So I think at first glance, and obviously I had no expectation, it always helps lower expectations, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's a good list. So what would I really want? I would definitely go out of my way to find Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. What else? I think Playground by Richard Powers sounds interesting. Enlightenment by Sarah Perry. Orbital by Samantha Harvey. James Percival Everett, of course. yeah, My Friends by Ishman Matar and Headshot by Rita Bullwinkle. That's really half the list. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go and look on all my different library apps and everything, what I can actually get my hands on. And we'll see what I add to my August TBR, which I'll hopefully be posting next week. All right, so what did you think of the list? Did you have any expectation? Is there a book that you hope would make the list that didn't? Or, maybe you predicted one of them. Let me know what you think and which one you're starting with, which one I should start with. And yeah, let's share our thoughts and be excited about this prize and hype some of these books. So thank you so much for watching as always, and hasty back. Bye.